So today I am working on a great wintertime project. Winter is a great opportunity to work on your garden tools. And what I've been doing is sharpening these things up, cleaning them up, and putting some oil on them. And so care and proper maintenance of your garden tools will ensure that when you go to use them this summer, they're going to be in tip-top shape and ready to use. Now you might wonder why in the world you would want to do any work to your equipment whatsoever, and these digging tools get nicked and beat up pretty good, and so it's just a good idea to bring them into the shop and really take a look at them and see if there are any nicks and burrs that are within the blades on the various implements that you have. And if you do find some nicks in the blades, you should just go ahead and try to work those out. If you do that as you go along, then you'll end up with a nice sharp tool to use when you need it. If you kind of neglect them, then they get to the point where they're just so dull that honestly they won't dig or work very well. And if you do let them go, then you'll end up having to either purchase new tools or have your old ones reforged, and that would probably cost you a good bit of money either which way you go, buying or reforging. So it's really just worth it to spend a good day finishing these things up. Now, the way that the tools that I use to make this really convenient and easy is using a great old big wire brush, and this is really nice for taking off all the dirt and any rust that has accumulated on the metal bits. And then whenever you go to work on the ends of the tools, the first thing I always do is start out with a grinder and do a real light grinding across the end of the blade. And I just want to do it really lightly to make sure that I don't put any significant amount of heat into the end of this, because if you put too much heat into it, you'll actually change the properties of the metal and potentially make it softer than it actually is, and that's not good for a digging tool. Also, just trying to be careful about the bevels on all of these different tools. They're all designed with different bevels, and you want to try to preserve those bevels as much as you can. And of course, I'm talking about these kinds of bevels here, actually. As you can see with this one, it's really got a sharp bevel to one side, and the other side it really doesn't have much bevel to it at all. And then of course on the other side it of course has a point where it's beveled on both sides. So really just trying to work at it and make sure that you don't screw that up. So once I've finished with the grinder, the next and final step in the process is actually to use a file and do a finish file of the actual implement itself. And that just kind of cleans everything up and ensures that you've kept the edge nice and even on both sides or one side, and it just makes for a nicer finish. Once I'm done with all of that, and I check the handle to make sure that there's no splinters or burrs in it, I'll then wipe it all down with linseed oil. And linseed oil is good for both the metal as well as the wood bits of your tools. And that just helps to preserve them and keep them good and ready for this winter, actually. So hopefully that's been helpful to you and inspires you to get out into your shed there and clean up all your tools for this winter. Since this is the second video where I've mentioned filing in it, I figured that I should actually take a moment to demonstrate how to file something. In a previous video, I demonstrated how to set up your vise in a way that is appropriate for your height. And now with this demonstration, I'm going to show you why that's actually important. And so, as you can see here, in this vise, which is set up according to me, I've got a brush hook set up in here, and I've got a file with me. And so the first thing that you do is you hold your file in your right hand by the handle. And this has got a fairly standard handle on it. Some people you'll find have little golf balls on the end of it. But whatever you've got is probably going to be just appropriate and perfectly fine. So you grab hold of the file with your right hand by the handle. Then you take your left hand and you place the end of the file into your left hand like that, and you grip around it. And there you go. That's how you're supposed to hold the file, right like that. Now, if you read about this kind of stuff, you'll hear about people who put their finger out on the end of the file like that, and so they kind of do this number. And this is actually incorrect, and you're not supposed to have your finger out on the front like that. Not 100% sure why, but you're just not supposed to do it. So holding the file like that, you've got your work out in front of you, and then there is actually a particular way to stand at the vise. And because I'm right-handed and this is how I'm using the file, you actually put your left foot forward, and then your right foot is a little bit behind you. And then you grab hold of the file, and you just place it down on the work itself. And if you're filing flat, like I'm going to demonstrate now, just like that. If you're down here on this brush hook, where you're trying to be very conscious about maintaining this beveled profile, one of the things that you should be able to notice is that there's a little bit of a rocking motion as I'm doing this. And that's because it's my whole body that's doing the work and not just my arms. And that's why having the vise at the right height is so important. If it was too tall, like for example, if I were down here, it'd be my arms doing all the work. Or if I had the vise too low, it would still be the same problem, and then my back would hurt because I would be bent plumb over. By doing it this way, you're standing in a comfortable position. The work is in the right position, and you have the ability to work efficiently, effectively, and quite comfortably for a long period of time. So it actually makes the work less difficult than it could be if you had your vise set at an improper height. So hopefully that kind of helps you to understand why it's important to set these things up correctly. And maybe it might even inspire you to take a look at what's in your shop and how you have things set up there. So I do hope this has been helpful to you.